Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reimagine 2025. I'm Steve Woolidge, the Chief Marketing Officer here at Collate.
And I'm Sumita Bhattacharjee, Head of Field Engineering and Customer Success, and we're so excited to have you with us today.
For years, I've worked at companies like Elation, Teradata, MapR, and others, helping data teams tell better stories about how they innovate with their data.
And I've seen the same teams on the front lines, whether it was at Confluent, AWS, New Relic, or Qualys. Every customer had the same goal: to turn data into decisions that actually drive the business. But what stood in the way? Silos, manual workflows, and missing context. The very things that we're here to address.
Absolutely. Today is all about reimagining how data, metadata, and AI come together to shape the next decade of innovation.
The way we work with data is changing fast. From cloud to AI agents that actually do the work for you. This is a whole new era, and we're thrilled to give you a front row seat to what's next.
Exactly. We've got an incredible lineup today, as you can see here, starting with our co-founder and CEO, Suresh Srinivas, who's going to frame the vision of moving from metadata to meaning. Then we'll bring on the engineering leaders to show the latest in conversational AI interfaces for the data teams to do more with their data more easily. And next up will be the co-founder and CTO, Harsha, to unveil new autonomous agents for data workflows, along with live demos from the team, as well as an update from the Open Metadata community. And then Suresh will close things out for the future and what's next, how we unlock data intelligence without boundaries.
If you have worked in the data space for a while, you probably know his fingerprints are everywhere. As a co-founder of Hortonworks, an early developer of Hadoop, a data infrastructure leader at Uber, Suresh has been at the heart of every major data movement over the past 15 years. He helped create Databook at Uber, the internal metadata system that powered their entire data platform, and then co-founded OpenMetadata with our CTO, Harsha, to bring the same capability to the open source world. Today, he's going to share how open standards, semantics, and AI are converging to shape how we work with data. So get ready. We're kicking things off with the big picture. And here's our Collate's CEO and co-founder, Suresh Srinivas, with his opening keynote.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Sumita, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reimagine Summit, hosted by Collate and the Open Metadata community. Today, we reimagine the future of data in the age of AI. We are thrilled to present our vision of this future and also some exciting product updates. A huge shout out to our Open Metadata community for their support and contribution that makes all of this amazing work possible. I've seen so many changes in data in my career. Building Hadoop at Yahoo, and as co-founder at Hortonworks, democratizing big data, and as chief architect for data at Uber, building some world-class data infrastructure and solutions. So much innovation has happened in data, but the challenges of data teams remain unaddressed. Data teams struggle to find the right data, understand the data. They are frequently hampered by data quality issues. There are broken dashboards, missing data, and many other compliance challenges. While the approach at the time was to treat these problems as separate problems and address them with separate tools, we had a different take on it. We thought these are all interconnected problems that needs to be solved in a holistic manner. That's why we approach these problems from first principles. And we had three key insights. First, people did not have full context of data, and this siloed understanding was causing a lot of problems. We knew that metadata is key to solving this problem. We built a unified knowledge graph of metadata to enable people with full understanding of data. We did this 4 years ago, before metadata and context became buzzwords. Metadata was not only foundational for giving full understanding of data to people, it was also foundational for solving many of these challenges. That's how in Open Metadata, we built unified platform for discovery, observability, and governance, including solving many of the other data management challenges on top of this foundation of metadata. The next key insight we had was data doesn't live in a vacuum. It moves from teams to team, from one domain to another domain, from a data engineer to a data scientist, and finally to a decision maker. The collaboration between producers of data and consumers of data is key to getting right value from the data. That's why we have built an amazing collaboration layer within Open Metadata to bring all these data practitioners together and help them collaborate and share the responsibility for the data. The final insight was a lot of time and talent was being wasted on mundane, repetitive work. We realized that automation is key to freeing up data teams to do more valuable work. And that's why Open Metadata has an automation framework, and a lot of mundane tasks have been automated in Open Metadata. Today, these aren't radical ideas anymore. They are becoming the norm. Because when you combine metadata, collaboration, and automation, you don't just improve how data is managed. You transform how decisions are made, how teams operate, and how organizations work. As we transition from people-ready data to AI-ready data, context alone is not enough. Context describes what data is, but AI needs semantics to bring meaning to data. Semantics creates common language for humans and AI agents to interpret the data consistently and accurately. That's the gap we are trying to fill in our next evolution, filling the gap from raw data to turning that into intelligence. Data is built on open foundation. We have seen many examples of how being open has transformed the data industry to drive innovation and business value. For example, SQL as open data language as a standard has become universal language for data. Iceberg as an recent open table format has opened up true interoperability and choice of compute engines in data. In the same way, metadata context and semantics must also be open, both open source and open standard. We are taking a big step towards creating a metadata semantic standard. Open Metadata started as an open standard for metadata built on control vocabulary. Now we are adding semantics with resource description framework support. Open Metadata now supports metadata ontologies built on existing standards such as DCAT, dprod, and many other standard ontologies. It is critical we build a vendor-neutral foundation for semantics that connects data, tools, and AI systems across the enterprise, future-proofing your ecosystem. For a long time, big data and knowledge graph have lived in separate silos. We are excited to bring these together to make data even more intelligent. And this standard is being defined in Open Metadata open source project. Open Metadata is the #1 open source project for metadata. We are defining these standards working with a thriving community of more than 10,000 people, 370 contributors, and battle-tested over 2,000 plus enterprise deployments. We are also working with many organizations and standards body to standardize metadata ontologies. Richer semantics beyond simple context will bring sweeping transformation to the way we work with data. I'm super excited about this future. We have now conversational interfaces and agentic automation that is enabled by semantics. Semantics enables conversational interfaces where people can collaborate with AI. Instead of navigating complex UIs, you describe what you need, show me PII data, build me a glossary of e-commerce terms. All of this work gets done through conversational interfaces where AI will do the job without the complexity of UI. Manual data preparation doesn't scale for AI-ready data. The only thing that can scale for AI is AI itself. Agentic AI will take automation to a whole new level. Documentation, data quality tests that generate themselves, data that can govern itself, and failures that are detected, debugged, and fixed automatically. This will free data teams from repetitive tasks to truly create value from data. Humans set the direction, AI executes the work. Towards this future, today we are announcing AskCollate, a data-native conversational interface as your data companion to help you develop, manage your data, and get insights from it. We are also adding AI Studio, an agentic framework where AI agents supercharge your automations. Looking ahead, we are at an exciting time with AI and data. You will express your goal clearly in natural language, and AI will take care of the job. The organizations that adopt this will leapfrog the organizations that don't. In the next 90 minutes, you will see a glimpse of what this future looks like. Thank you for taking this journey with us. Over to you, Steve and Sumita.
Wow, that was a great start. Thanks, Suresh. That was a powerful look at how we're moving from context to semantics, from not just data for people and making it ready for people-ready data, but also AI-ready data, what that is required to unlock the value of information. And what stuck with me is the way he described the need for the open semantics as that next universal standard to really unlock the value from information and take advantage of all the context that's available to feed these AI models and the people. So I love how he framed that, because AI isn't just for analyzing the data, it's about how do you understand and take that context and put it to work.
Which brings us to our next act. What if managing your data could feel as natural as having a conversation? Imagine being able to ask your data a question, just like you'd ask a teammate. Something like, is the data behind this report even reliable? And getting direct contextual answer instantly.
Exactly. And that's what AskCollate is all about. You're going to see it in action next. It's secure, contextual, and conversational. And it's not just for answering questions. It's about taking action with your data, taking care of data management tasks that slow you down. So let's hear from some of the brilliant engineers who built it. Pere, Tomas, Teddy, and Mohit will join us today to walk through different data roles, including data stewards, engineers, and business users that can collaborate through one unified interface and conversationally at that. So let's jump right in. Pere, over to you.
Hey folks, this is Pere from the engineering team here at Collate. Super happy to discuss the foundations that are powering our new AI agents. The data landscape is changing rapidly. Every day brings new sources and volumes of data to ingest, while we gain new tools to curate and transform this information into dashboards and ML models. We also face growing data complexity and increasing platform complexity. The fundamental challenge is that critical knowledge and context are constantly scattered across these different tools, creating silos that force our data users to learn and navigate fragmented systems. The work we have pioneered with OpenMetadata and Collate over the past few years has been focused on addressing this exact problem, making sense of all of this scattered information. We accomplish this by defining and implementing open source metadata standards, allowing us to effectively translate and curate every unit of your data platform, regardless of which system they come from. The result is a unified metadata graph covering your entire stack, which empowers users with seamless data discovery, observability, and governance. This becomes the foundation of OpenMetadata, an API and schema-first implementation of these standards that create a highly extensible architecture, allowing organizations to continuously integrate new sources and services and fully connect their entire data ecosystem. Once the data is centralized, we must recognize a fundamental truth. Data does not live in isolation, and data itself does not solve any problems. Data only gains value when it is contextualized within your organization and your business. This requires understanding not only the data, but how the data is being used, who owns it, and what the business impact of each specific asset is. And more importantly, both the questions and expected answers to data will be different for different user personas. Data analysts, engineers, and scientists have distinct projects, goals, and technical knowledge, but they should all be able to work together in a single tool, leveraging a unified experience and building their solutions based on this unified knowledge graph. In the end, this is the definitive source of truth for everything happening around data in the organization. Otherwise, we'll just end up creating more silos and more complexity. Now, if we are able to build this experience for people, we should also be able to bring all of this context for AI tooling so that we can increase the productivity of everyone in your workforce. What we bring to the table here is a way to transform this unified knowledge graph into knowledge units that go far beyond simply giving an LLM access to the scheme of your tables, but actually contextualizing it with the importance of an asset within your organization, its specific meaning, thanks to the integration of the glossary and the knowledge center, or even how it is currently being used, who owns it, and how that information flows through different pipelines and processes. We're able to achieve this not only via vector embeddings, but by leveraging your organization's vocabulary and all these super rich and complex relationships that represent the reality of your business, of your data, and your people. This is why we're announcing AskCollate, an AI agent that provides conversational analytics and data management capabilities, built upon this knowledge graph and powered by our RAC architecture. To illustrate the power of the system, let us consider a common business objective: improving the customer experience and optimizing revenue for a new product line of eco-friendly home goods. Everyone across the organization will be focused on answering questions around this data, and in the following examples, we will demonstrate how different personas, each with their specific needs and questions about the same underlying data, can all achieve their goals within the same platform. Now, as a data steward, I need to make sure we are organizing the information properly in our data platform. To do so, I'll get help from AskCollate to figure things out quickly. For this project, we have to start validating our vocabulary and definitions. So I'll ask, do we have any revenue definitions? AskCollate was smart enough to dig into our glossaries and correctly see that we don't have that term controlled yet. So I'll try to get a better view of the glossaries available. Which glossaries do we have? Since we're talking about home goods, I'll place the missing term in the e-commerce glossary. Create a new term in the e-commerce glossary that explains how we should sum up the total amount of sales. List me the proposal. The agent is giving me some pointers about the different fields and properties available to glossaries. Since it's already looking good enough, let's create it. However, I need to chat with the rest of the team regarding who should own that, so let's instruct the agent to not put any ownership details yet. Sounds good, let's create it, but don't put an owner though. In this case, the agent is impersonating me, and since I am part of the reviewers of the glossary, the term is automatically approved. However, anyone else would need to go through the approval process, keeping humans in the loop and maintaining the proper governance workflows. Now that we have the term control, I need to ensure people will be able to properly find the right assets under it. So let's figure out some candidates that could be tagged. Find tables in Snowflake that could help us compute the revenue. From all of these candidates, maybe the order items is the one that I like the most. Give me further details about order items. This structure is pretty much aligned with the definition of the revenue term, since we have the total amount here. So let's apply it. And thanks to the agent, anyone else in the organization can now quickly figure out where to find revenue-relevant data.
Hey everyone, Tomas here from the AI engineering team. Today, I'll be using AskCollate from a data analyst perspective, showing you how AskCollate takes advantage of its integration with many data sources to accelerate insight discovery. So let's go for it. So I've been asked to analyze how are the eco-friendly products performing. And for that, I'll just share my goal with AskCollate so it can help me find some relevant data. I want to assess my eco-friendly products performance. Any relevant data? Tier 1 assets only. Since that's how we typically tag our highly curated data, which is what I'm aiming to use in this task. Now, only in a matter of seconds, AskCollate is able to go through our entire data catalog, every data source connection that we have, that is Snowflake, Redshift, etc., in order to give us an action plan, right? So it is now pointing to 3 entities that might serve our goal. That is the products, the orders, and the customer table, all within Snowflake in this case. So that sounds reasonable. Maybe we can start with some market share analysis. Let's focus on Snowflake. Give me total market share for eco versus non-eco-friendly products in terms of total revenue share. Cool. So I'm asking it to give me the total market share for eco versus no eco-friendly products in terms of total revenue. Now, there's a lot of things going on here behind the scenes. First, AskCollate is transforming this natural language request into a SQL query, accounting for the data warehouse on which this query will be executed, in this case, Snowflake. And once this transformation is done, then it is able to execute this query directly against our data warehouse, thanks to the connection we have previously established. And now, once the results are back and fed to AskCollate, it is able to provide some insights. For instance, it is telling us that eco-friendly products account for about 43% of total revenue. Also, we have the SQL query that was executed attached here for reference, for validation, or just for copying and storing elsewhere. Nice. Maybe we can make some visuals out of this. Awesome. So it generated the plots. And the cool thing here is that these are kind of dynamic, so we can make some changes until they kind of hit our style. For instance, this green color might be a bit too much for me, so I'll probably change that. Make it dark green. Also, make the description insightful, one-liner. So I'm asking it to make it a bit more subtle and also change the description to make it insightful, not only describing what the plot is about. So it is now dark green and it's telling me that the eco-friendly products contribute a significant 43% of total revenue, highlighting the strong impact in the market. We can see in comparison that previously it was just describing what it was plotting. Cool. So there's that. Now we can make many iterations as we want. We can, for instance, change the chart type. Here we have only 2 data points, which add up to 100. So maybe it makes sense. There's a case for a donut chart here. So let's try that. Make a donut chart instead and plot the non-eco products in gray color. So I'm asking it to make it a donut chart instead, and also to plot the non-eco products in gray color. So we can just focus on the message we're trying to get here, which is that eco-friendly market share of a significant 43%. Cool. So we can continue here and just starting to create some plots for our dashboard or report that we want to present. Awesome. Now maybe we can switch here to analyze some customer segmentation in terms of lifetime value, how much revenue they will generate. And here AskCollate suggested us to use the customer 360 table, which we can see have some customers metadata and also data related to the lifetime value and how much, in the sense that how much revenue they have generated so far. And also customer tier, again, linked to that lifetime value is segmented into high, medium, or low revenue. We also have info regarding if they have ever purchased any eco-friendly product and how many of them. Awesome. Let's go for it. Now give me the percentage of customers that have bought eco products, grouped by customer tiers. You probably have all the info you need in Customers 360. Cool. So I'm now asking it to give me the percentage of customers that have bought eco products, grouped by customers tier. And I'm also suggesting it probably have all the information it needs in the Customers 360 table. So let's see what it comes up with. Here is just translated to SQL syntax, executing the query against the data warehouse and getting back the results for assessment. Awesome. So here are again the SQL that was executed, the table with the results, and some insights. We can see that all of the customers that have generated high revenue in the past have purchased eco-friendly products at least once, and roughly 3 out of 4 customers with medium revenue in the past have purchased as well. And there's a room for improvement for those customers that have purchased not that much in terms of revenue in the past. So, but this is an interesting takeaway here, that the higher the revenue a customer have had in the past, the more likely it is that it has been involved with eco-friendly products purchase. So that's good to know. Lastly, maybe we want to see what are our best performing eco-friendly products. So let's switch focus to a product level analysis, and let's finish with that. Search for product catalog assets, then list me every eco-friendly product in the catalog and their total revenue. So I'm now asking Collate to give me all of the eco-friendly product in my catalog and the total revenue that they have generated so far. Just want to see the bestseller or most valuable products. Awesome. So we have here that we currently have in this new line of product, we have 5 eco-friendly products, the best seller being the organic cotton t-shirt. Nice. Now, there's something that I find weird here is that our B share have a revenue of $0. A bit concerning for me because I know for a fact that we have sold some of these shares, that we have had some feedback from customers. So we have uncovered a potential data quality issue here. And this is actually the perfect scenario for the engineering team to kick in and leverage AskCollate to perform a root cause analysis, which will be the focus of our next demo. But let me step back and summarize what we have accomplished in just a few minutes without actually leaving this chat. We search for our data catalog and filter out for Tier 1 certified assets, ensuring we are working with trusted production-ready data. We ask Collate to translate our business questions into SQL queries and execute them directly against our Snowflake data warehouse. We created and iterated and refined visualization, changing data, chart type, colors, and format, all through conversational requests. So we went from high-level market share analysis down to customer segmentation and individual products performance, and we actually caught a potential data quality issue that will be tackled next.
Hi, my name is Teddy. I'm part of the engineering team at Collate, and I'm super excited to share with you how you can leverage AskCollate from the perspective of a data engineer in your organization so that you can reduce the time it takes to find anomalies and put remediation steps in place. All right, let's dive into our investigation into the issues that we have seen with our customer report dashboard. Can you show the tables used to generate my customer report dashboard? So to understand that those anomalies, we'll first ask our agent to show us what are the tables used to generate this specific customer report dashboard. Perfect. We now have the answer from our agent, and we'll see that the structure of the response is going to be very similar throughout the investigation. So at the top, we have our dynamic component. The dynamic component is an item that Collate users will be very familiar with, and that dynamic component is fully interactable. So I can click on a node, for example, to get more information about that specific table, or I can also look at the different layers that are composing my lineage. So for example, if I want to get column level lineage, I'm able to expand that view to get information directly within the component. And then at the bottom, I will have a summary that is provided by AskCollate, right, by the agent. So we can see that we have 5 tables that are used to generate our customer report dashboard, and they all belong to our Collate shop schema. And we can see that customer 360 is the table directly responsible for generating data in customer report. All right. So now that we have an understanding of this flow of data into our customer report dashboard, we want to see and understand if there are any anomalies with the data that are feeding into our customer report dashboard. Can you search for this table and tell me if you see any anomalies? For example, negative values, null values, duplicate, etc. with the data and statistics. So now we'll ask Collate to search for this table and tell us if there are any anomalies with the statistics and the data. And we'll give it some example of what we think are anomalies with our data. And as our agent is proceeding, if we expand the thinking box, we are able to see the step it is taking to go and fetch and retrieve the information required to answer our request. All right, I now have a full summary and a full detail of the profiling and statistic of the different table composing the data flow of the customer report dashboard. And I can navigate and look at the summary of data through my dynamic component directly in the interaction box. And I can also directly click on the link so that I will be redirected to that specific entity in Collate so that I can go further into exploration and get more information and details about this specific table. And then at the bottom, I will see a full summary of the data and analysis that were generated by our agent, right? So I can have a full detail for each specific table. And then at the very bottom, I will see the summary of the investigation that was performed by our agent. And so from here, I can see that in our products table, for the unit price column, that it contains two negative values that seems to be a data entry error for product pricing, right? Because we are expecting unit price to be not negative most of the time. And all the other fields seems to be okay, right? So from here, after just a few minutes, I already have some very interesting information into potential anomalies that are causing a problem inside my customer report dashboard, right? So from there, I can go ahead and go to my system and directly address the issue on the unit price column inside my products table. And then what I also want to do is put steps in place so that if an issue like this happen again, then I will be proactively informed of a data test failure so that I can address the issue before it impacts any data consumer. So let's go ahead and ask Collate to perform that action for us. Right? Can you create the relevant test cases for my products table? So we'll ask AskCollate to create the relevant test cases based on its analysis for our products table. Perfect. Our agent has now went ahead and created 16 new test cases inside our products table. And we can see that it used 5 dimensions to generate those data quality tests, so completeness, uniqueness, accuracy, validity, and integrity. And most importantly, it first checked if there were any existing test cases. So in our case, there were 0 existing test cases that were previously defined in our products table. And so, it went and checked those test cases to make sure that it does not create any duplicate test cases. So we can now navigate to our product table and verify that our data quality tests were indeed generated, right? So we can now navigate to the data quality tab. And here we can see that we have multiple test cases that were generated by the agent. And more importantly, we can see that our agent went ahead and created a range validation for our unit price column to make sure that the issue and the anomaly that we saw in the data is being caught early so that we can address it before impacting the data consumer. So you can see with AskCollate that we are able in less than 10 minutes to understand the flow of data, feeding or dashboard, then perform a full analysis of the statistics and the data for this table feeding into our customer dashboard, and then go ahead and implement a battery of tests for the table that was causing an issue. If you think about the step that you would have had to take before AskCollate, you would have had to go into individual system, run queries against different tables, try to understand the statistic and generate the statistics for this data, and then perform a full-on analysis. With AskCollate, we are reducing the time that it takes you to resolve any ongoing issue with your data so that data consumer gets clean and sane data faster.
Hey everyone, Mohit here from the engineering team at Collate. Today, I'm excited to walk you through AskCollate and its Slack integration. AskCollate brings your metadata context right into your Slack workspace, so your teams can access insights, discuss issues, and make decisions all without having to leave their workspace. It is designed to make collaboration faster, smarter, and a lot more efficient. So let's deep dive into it. In our organization, all of our collaboration and quick decisions happen in Slack. As a data leader, I want to stay on top of how our new product lines are performing, but I also want to make sure that the data I'm looking at is trusted. Let us see how AskCollate helps me do that. So I have invited AskCollate to this channel. Now let us directly look at the performance of the eco-friendly home goods. So here I'm asking Collate to summarize the performance of our eco-friendly home goods using Snowflake data. Okay, so now we have the data about there are 5 eco-friendly products available. We can now look for where this data is coming from and check whether that data is trustable or not. So I'm asking it to get the assets that are used for this information. As you can see, it uses products and customer 360 to get the information. I can click in Explore in Collate to see the asset that is being used. So as you can see, this is the products table. Then further, it uses the customer 360 and products. I want to see the data health for these assets to make sure that this data is trustable. Can you give me data health for customer 360 and product? Okay, so for these two tables, we have customer 360, which has 9 test cases that are passing and 1 test case which is failing. And then you have test coverage by different dimensions for this table. There is accuracy, completeness, uniqueness, and furthermore, for the products table, there are 20 test cases which are passing. So that means this is fair. I can trust these numbers. Now let's see who owns these assets. Okay, as we can see, the customer 360 is owned by a data platform team and products is also owned by the data platform team. So now what I want to do is I want to prepare a short summary of these insights that I've got. So I'm asking it to prepare a short summary for the board meeting that highlights the eco-friendly product performance, the ownership for these assets, and the data health. That's a nice summary that I can use probably for the next meeting. So now I have trusted metrics, clear ownership, and actionable insights all from this Slack. So that is all for the demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Pere and team. That was great to see in action. Now that we've seen how Collate with AskCollate helps you understand your data and keep it healthy, let's take it one step further. What if AI could actually do the work for you?
This is where things get really exciting. And there's no better person to show that than our co-founder and CTO, Harsha Chintalapani, or Harsha, as we like to call him. Before Collate, Harsha was a key Apache Atlas committer, helping shape the open source foundation for metadata management. He also contributed significantly to Apache Kafka, Storm, and of course, Apache Hadoop projects. He scaled Uber's streaming platform to 5 trillion events per day, and together with Suresh, he co-founded OpenMetadata, the open source project that now powers Collate's platform and community.
Harsha will introduce and show us the power of Collate AI Studio. This is the place where you can build, customize, and deploy your own AI agents. These agents aren't just assistants, they are teammates. You'll see how governance, quality, and compliance will all be automated with drag and drop simplicity.
Harsha will then hand things off to Joe Perez and Nick Acosta, who will demo how Collate AI agents work to ease your data management tasks and how you can integrate with other agentic tools with the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, and the power of the open metadata community to bring that all together. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Thanks, Steve and Sumita, for the introduction. AskCollate is an amazing product. We can't wait for our customers to get hands on it and see how it improves data teams' productivity. But let's be honest, data teams just can't keep up anymore. Data is exploding, AI models are multiplying, and compliance isn't getting any easier. If you look at the daily life of any data team member, they're either documenting or adding tests, profiling the data, and making sure data is ready for consumption, and answering endless number of questions that are coming their way. We are still relying on tribal knowledge, manual docs, and endless tickets. It's like trying to run a Formula One race on foot. For AI to work, the foundation has to be living, breathing, and automated. And that foundation is metadata. So how do we keep up? The answer is AI itself. We need AI to manage data. But here's the catch. You can't just drop a generic LLM into your data stack and expect it to understand your lineage, governance, or business context. That's why we are building AI agents grounded in metadata. They know your tables, your dashboards, your models, what they mean. It's how we move from static catalogs to intelligent, proactive data systems. To work in production, AI agents need 3 things. It has to know full visibility across your data landscape. It must be accurate, context-aware answers, not just guesses. And lastly, trust. They have to be reliable, governed, and explainable. And you only get that when your agents are built on a unified metadata graph, which is exactly what Collate and OpenMetadata gives you. To help data teams get ahead of themselves and actually look at the data and solve and drive the business outcomes, they need to automate their daily tasks that are preparing the data, enriching the data, governing the data. We have built a lot of AI agents, but every organization is unique. Every data team's needs are unique. They get new workflows, new automations on a daily basis. So they need to have an ability to build AI agents to serve their unique use cases, unique workflows. To address that, we built something new, Collate AI Studio. Think of it as your no-code playground to design and deploy AI agents securely at scale. It is powered by our unified metadata graph with RDF DCAT, ontologies, and vector embeddings. So the agents actually understand your data. With Collate, you can connect to 100+ systems, automate workflows end-to-end, and go from idea to execution in minutes. Whether it's building documentation agent, a data quality, or even a policy enhancement agent, including talking to your data as you've seen, Collate AI Studio lets you build the AI that runs your data. Now let's take a look at the demo. Now, once you go to AskCollate, you will see AI Studio. And here we present all the agents that we have built to enable the data teams today. But you also see new agent option here. Let's click on that. So I would like to build a GDPR compliance agent today to mark all of my data assets in a particular data warehouse with PI sensitive data. And if it is PI sensitive data, I want to know what exactly the type of object that we are carrying, such as email, SSN address. I'm going to name it as GDPR policy agent. So GDPR policy agent will identify all of our tables with PI sensitive data. And the goal is to also recognize what exactly we have in those columns. Now we have an option to personalize your agent. We want to give a role to it. So to give a role to LLM, we must tell that, hey, you should be a an expert coder, and a data steward, a data analyst, and so on. So let's select the persona. So for this goal, I want to use the persona of data steward because we want this agent to be a governance agent. So when you select data steward, you can see the prompt and instruction that we are building it for it. It's like telling it to, you're an expert data steward with a deep knowledge of data governance and regulatory compliance. That's exactly what we are looking for. Now, here I can give the entire unified metadata graph, the entire knowledge graph, to go from n number of places, all the way from APIs to your models, dashboards, and reports, and everything in between. But for this objective, I'm looking for a specific data warehouse. In this case, I'm going to choose my Snowflake banking database. And I can choose further filter down the different asset types, such as database schema, table, stored ratios. But for this job, I want to look at the entire data within the Snowflake banking. And I also supplement additional data, additional context to my agent. So in this case, I want to choose a GDPR policy that my organization put together. So I'm going to go and choose a GDPR policy. Again, this policy might be coming from legal or my business itself. So I can instruct, hey, what is the GDPR policy meant for our company and how do we actually approach that? So taking that context and taking the context of the data and actual data, marrying them together and mapping those controls together. Now we have given the data context. Now I can choose what kind of abilities this agent should have. I think definitely data lineage and exploration, because if we found API sensitive data and that data has flown through all the way to multiple dimension tables, fact tables, we should be able to kind of follow the lineage and tag accordingly. So I'm going to say that data lineage and exploration, discovery and search, metadata management, because it has to tag those tables and columns. And that's about it for this particular agent that we are building. So let's save and next. Here I can give exact task title I'm looking for. And here we are saying to identify, find all the tables which contain sensitive data. And we have a specific tag that we're looking to add to it, which is pi.sensitive tag. We also want to make sure the columns, what objects it contains, such as email, address, and SSN. So we from governance policy, governance team, know exactly what kind of data are we looking at. This agent can be on demand, which is I can come here and run it on demand whenever I need this action to be performed, or I can actually schedule this on a weekly basis, or it's simple cron like a syntax here. So I would like to do this on a weekly basis around 8, and I want to get a report out of this. And once we hit save, now you have a GDPR compliance agent that is built for us that has exact behavior and personality that we want to as a data steward, and the data context that we gave and the tools and capabilities that we gave it to it. So it can go and do the job on a scheduled basis or an on-demand basis. This is how easy it is to build an AI agent, to automate the work that you're seeing, to dig into your unified metadata graph to find that nuggets of information that helps you govern better, write queries better, and improve data quality and data observability better. So with that, we're going to conclude this demo. Now that you have seen how we can build AI agents inside Collate AI Studio, let's look at why this is such a game changer. Because today, this is what the reality looks like in most organizations. A manual journey that spans multiple teams, tools, and handoffs. Think about this flow. Data engineers work in dbt, building and exporting models. Analysts write SQL, often hunting for the right data sets. AI teams build dashboards on top of whatever's available, usually with stale data. Each step is disconnected, tribal, and ticket-driven. Context gets lost, versions drift, and velocity dies. This is where every organization is feeling the bottleneck. It's exactly what we are trying to solve with AI agents. With Collate's AI agent platform, we are reimagining this entire flow. Instead of 3 separate silos, modeling, analytics, and dashboarding, you get a single intelligent pipeline powered by coordinated agents. The modeling agent builds the dbt models from natural language queries. The analytics agent generates and optimizes SQL automatically. The visualization agent creates a Power BI dashboard instantly. All of it is connected, governed, and documented through the metadata graph. So now instead of moving data through people, we move it through AI agents, safely, contextually, and at machine speed. So let's look at how we are achieving this. So to accomplish what we have set out to do, which is to find the right data set, query the data that we are looking for, and creating the model out of it, like a dbt model, publishing it to our dbt pipeline so the data flows, and finally actually creating a dashboard out of it, all within from AskCollate. So let's go to AskCollate here. So I'm looking for the eco-friendly data that we have and see what data actually we contain. So let's try that. So I'm specifically looking for a tier 1 assets because I know those are the well-maintained and kept up-to-date data asset that I must be using for any of my business analytics. I would find a few tables. That's exactly what we are looking for. So once we have this table, I'm actually interested in the data in itself. So I'm going to type in So now we find the top 3 eco-friendly products in terms of total revenue. This is amazing. Now I can start my day here and copy paste this into an email, send it to go ask me. But I'm sure this query is going to come to me all the time. So instead of just using this all the time, I want to actually automate this and create a dashboard right out of it. So with that, I know my team uses dbt in the data world. So let me try to turn this into a dbt model out of this. So when we are generating here, we also have SQL that is generated by the AskCollate and the data in itself. So I want to ask it. So we are saying just generate dbt model out of this query so that we can automate the data plumbing. So the data goes in this view on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So as you're seeing, we are actually not just generating the dbt model, it's also creating a pull request. That's amazing. Now we have a GitHub pull request open by AskCollate right here, and based on the query that we are analyzing just now. So let's go and take a look at this. This is great. The reason that we have this is I want myself or AI agent that I build to go and create a code that might not write according to our semantics, probably causes some issues. So creating a GitHub pull request would allow my colleagues to review this code and say that, hey, either this needs to be improved or it looks good, and merge this. So we also have dbt-PR checks, again, invoking our CI/CD to make sure everything that we are doing is correct before going and deploying into production. Now that we have the GitHub pull request and installation to dbt, so let's take a look at what we can do next. So we analyze the data, we have the results. From there, we generate a dbt model, pushed into GitHub PR. Now I would like to actually generate a Power BI dashboard. That's what we use at my company, so that this dashboard, anyone who's asking for eco-friendly top selling products, they can solve that out of the Power BI that we have. So let's try that. So we're asking generate a Power BI dashboard from this view that is just generated by the dbt. That's pretty cool now. So we went from all the way from discovering a data asset where the eco-friendly data is, actually querying that table to get the answers. Now, once I have the answer that I'm looking for, I'm able to create a dbt model out of this, productionize this. And finally, once we have the data in a view through the dbt model, I can actually connect my Power BI to that view and generate a dashboard right here, AskCollate, and productionize this. Now, to summarize, we went from an engineer doing the modeling, analyst creating the query, and BI user coming and creating a dashboard. All of them in a single session using the AskCollate. Now, this is where the power of unified metadata graph comes into play, because it knows the entire landscape and how to connect the data and how to search and find the data asset that you're looking for. We're able to condense all of this workflow into 3 AI agents that can talk to each other.
Wow, super exciting stuff that we've seen so far. Going to be hard to top, but I will try my best. I am Joe Perez, and I'm going to be showing you the different agents that Collate has to offer to get more things done with your data. So let's jump in. AI is all the buzz currently, and today I want to talk about how Collate is leveraging AI agents. So, really thinking about the concept behind agents as a mechanism to perform a specific task or action. So, really thinking about how it can streamline workflows or replace existing manual processes in an intelligent and efficient manner. So, what we're going to do right now is we are going to jump into our settings and our applications where we can see what agents are currently available. Collate offers three main agents. Our Collate AI documentation agent. This is going to provide table and column level descriptions for your data assets. We also have our Collate quality agent, which is going to provide data quality test cases to your assets to help get that broad coverage. And last but not least, the Collate AI tiering agent. It is going to provide the tier of your assets based on a number of factors. What I'm going to do is dig into several of these to demonstrate how they work. So I'm going to go into settings and services and databases. Going to go into my Redshift prod. And from this view, we can see those agents with the addition of our tag, so we can actually see what's being done manual versus what's being done by Collate AI. So we see that some of these do have a split between tags and tiers and quality test. Again, just allowing you to better understand what's happening. If I go into my agents tab here, I do want to call out that our sample and auto classification agent also leverages AI. This is going to tag your data as sensitive or IP addresses or non-sensitive or date times and different elements and aspects as such. And then of course, if we go here, we do have those different data quality agents, tiering agents, and documentation agents also present. So just really giving you that bird's eye view of what's feasible and what's possible. What I want to do now actually is click into what this looks like to review a couple of these agents. So starting with this customer table, if we go here, we actually see where these suggestions are being made. Now, Collate can either suggest descriptions or suggest tiers, or it can automatically set if empty. That is a configuration that is up to you to set and configure. Let's first talk about that documentation agent and see if I go here, I do have a number of descriptions, but let's actually see what Collate AI documentation is going to suggest on some of these that were empty. So if I look at these two, most recent order and number of orders. So if I were to ask you, what is the most recent order? I would probably get, hey, Joe, it's the last order that a customer placed. Yes, I think that makes sense. Okay, fine. Or if I were to copy and paste most recent order into ChatGPT, I'd probably get something similar. Now let's take a look at what Collate AI documentation agent suggested. What we've defined here is the most recent order column indicates the date of the customer's latest purchase, helping to track customer engagement. Now let's take this apart. The first thing I want to call out is the date. Notice how we didn't say it's the last order or thinking about numbers or elements like that. We specifically associated this column with the date field. And if we look over to our left, we do have that date type present. So again, we're not just looking at the name of the column, but we're also looking at the column type. As we continue to read this description, we also see things like customer's latest purchase. So we know this is about customers. We also can see that it's helping track customer engagement. So again, this isn't just looking at the column name and the technical type, but it's also looking at the other fields in this table. So looking at the schema at large. We have a customer lifetime value. From a lineage point of view, we have it feeding a number of dashboards, or the queries that we're using also indicate that this is for customer loyalty and customer engagement. Again, giving us really good insight here to what the purpose of this column is. Similarly, we can see that in number of orders with customer loyalty, as well as some of these other fields as well. Super important, it gives us a full rich context for the purpose of this table or of this column, going above and beyond just the column name, but really pulling together all your metadata elements. If you like this description, you can check it. If you dislike this description, you can reject it. And again, we can set these automatically if they were blank. So that's our Collate AI documentation agent. The other agent we want to call out is my personal favorite, is the Collate tiering agent. So let's say you have 20 people on your team and you have 20,000 tables. How can you manage all 20,000 tables effectively? Well, you distribute them 1,000 tables per team member. Now, what we're probably thinking is that's not a scalable solution. And you can't possibly treat all 20,000 tables as equal. So what do you do instead? The best thing to do in this case will be to assign priorities and tierings. Just like you have tier 1 and tier 2 applications within your infrastructure and within your ecosystem, your data should be handled the same way. Now, if I click on this Collate tiering agent, notice how it's suggesting it's tier 1. Because what this is doing is it's looking at our lineage, it's looking at our queries, it's looking at our usage and popularity, and then it's suggesting what this table should be based off those factors and then assigning that tier. Because sometimes the hardest part is actually understanding the level of importance that these objects have. Our Collate tiering agent makes this super easy and super simple. The other ones that we have was the auto classification. That's where we're getting things like sensitive and things like person or non-sensitive information. So our auto classification agent is being able to tag these as such. So we see that it was tagged as sensitive based off of the Automator application. So just really thinking about different ways we can leverage the classification agent in addition to the documentation and tiering agent. How this auto classification agent works that's providing these tags is it's not just looking at the column name, but also the data and the structure of the data. So let's say you have a column titled ID, and that column looks like, the data in that column looks like this: 3 digits, -2 digits, -4 digits. Our auto classification agent is intelligent enough to say, hey, this looks like a social security number based off the format, based off the data present, based off the column name ID. Let's tag this as sensitive. Again, removing a lot of that manual burden, reaching that governance criteria and performing those actions and operations. And then the last one is from a data observability front. We're able to add data quality test. So I haven't ran any of these, but these are actually showing, hey, let's have some not nulls for customer ID. Let's look at the relationship or make sure that custom values are unique for numbers of orders and first and last name. Didn't run these just to show easy and identify from the video, but again, super important that we're able to get that broad coverage, especially for something like customer ID. It's nice to have a not null check as well as maybe a uniqueness test. So again, just ways we're able to help you get to that data quality coverage that you're aiming to. And again, you can review this all at the service level by seeing what's been generated by AI, what's been done manually, and being able to track that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Acosta, and I'm a developer advocate at Collate, where I'm helping to make the open metadata community the best place for open source data discovery, observability, and governance. I'm excited to spend the next couple of minutes discussing open metadata and model context protocol. To review, Open Metadata is the open source metadata management tool that is used for data discovery, observability, and governance that powers Collate. As our community continues to grow, I'm looking forward to even more open source contributors joining us to build a future of how you work with data that is open source and is powering even more enterprise deployments. And now let's take a look at MCP. MCP, or Model Context Protocol, gives AI agents context to make the right decisions. You can connect AI agents like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude to cloud services and open data silos that ground agents with the proper context to both read data accurately and write changes back to those services. MCP is implemented via a service's MCP server, and that standardizes how to interface across all AI agents. Before MCP, cloud data services would have to write interfaces for each rapidly developing agent, but now they can maintain a single MCP server implementation. And MCP servers allow your users to connect to your cloud services via conversational interfaces that they're already familiar with. I'm happy to share that OpenMetadata has an MCP server. Our implementation is fully open source and enterprise ready by design, with all relationships and context captured in OpenMetadata's graph that is available to augment AI-driven analysis and automations with no extra components to deploy. We've taken care to leverage OpenMetadata's unified knowledge graph to present logical actions and context, rather than raw, low-level endpoints. So now we're exposing functional tools in place of an AI wrapper, and that makes the interactions more powerful and semantically rich for AI. By using the same authorization engine as the OpenMetadata APIs, an agent can assume any role or policy you define, ensuring the proper access to the right data and functional logic to automate operations. We released our MCP server back in June, and it's been really exciting to see and hear the new ways people are using OpenMetadata since. Here are just a few. Murad has powered Crepineau's OpenMetadata environment at the schema level, applying classifications that he'd like to push down to every table within a schema in order to build out layers of a medallion architecture. And Amen uses OpenMetadata's MCP server to pull stats that he can send to a dashboarding service through its MCP server. And we have a video on OpenMetadata's YouTube page where he's detailing this use case. Thanks, Amen. If you have a great use case you'd like to share, we're finding new ways to reimagine how to build with OpenMetadata through its MCP server all the time. So please share them with us. I'd like to quickly share a demonstration myself. We're going to be showcasing that second use case we just saw, how to automate changes up and down a data stack with OpenMetadata through its MCP server. Let's take a look at that demo. This should look familiar to you. This is OpenMetadata. Here I have in my OpenMetadata and some information about a Postgres instance. I have a number of schemas and tables in there, and I built out some classifications or a classification at the schema level. Maybe I want to push those down to all the tables that are contained within that schema. Here you can see that I've certified that this public schema is a gold certified database schema. Pretty easy to do in the OpenMetadata UI, right? And it would be just as easy for me to add that gold certification to all of the tables within this public schema. I could just select a table, select certification, and add gold. I have 7 tables here within this particular schema, but imagine I had hundreds, right? And I had to click through and add that certification to each table. There's definitely an easier way here through OpenMetadata MCP. To be able to use OpenMetadata's MCP server, I'm going to be using an open source AI agent tool called Goose. Now, Goose was developed by the Block team to be able to pair AI agents. In this case, I'll be using GPT-4, but you can change my model here in Goose to any type of model provider, all of the models that they offer. and I can compare pair those with MCP servers. Here, Goose is calling them extensions. You can see the configuration for my OpenMetadata MCP server here, and we can turn that on. Now what I would like to do is take those classifications from that schema level and apply them to all the tables that are listed within that schema. So GPT-4 is going to work through Goose here to reach out to my OpenMetadata MCP server and craft tools that determine the information that should be exposed to GPT-4 through OpenMetadata. We can see that that gold certification is at the schema level. We can find all the tables within it and apply that certification to all the tables. Now, Goose is going to be preparing those tools. You can see I'm going to be patching each table, updating its certification. Now, if I go back to OpenMetadata, here we can see that familiar schema, still all the same tables within it. But now if I drill into each of these tables, they'll all have that same certification that they share with the schema that contains them. Thanks for sharing use case with us, Murat. I was really excited to showcase this particular use case with OpenMetadata's MCP server, because hopefully it opens you up to all the options that you have available with this new interface. You can do exactly what I just demonstrated or something very similar, right? Maybe instead of pushing a certification from the schema level down to its tables, maybe you want to push that up from the tables up to its schema level. Or maybe you're building out some sort of classification that you want to move across services. You could copy data, you could be copying data from Postgres to Snowflake. Through OpenMetadata's MCP server, you can copy those same classifications that you have built out in Postgres to those copied tables in Snowflake as well. And it's not just certifications here, right? I could add tags and scale those out. I could assign owners to my assets and push that information to new tables, to new services. Again, just having agents do all of that work for me. So if this is something that you would be interested in trying out with your OpenMetadata environment, I have some great news to share about that. We've been working with the Block team to open source our very first Goose recipe. Now, Goose recipes make it easier than ever to bundle MCP servers with models and get the work that you just saw in those demonstrations accomplished. So I'm happy to share that OpenMetadata is the first open source project to publish a Goose recipe, so it should be easy to find here in Goose docs. I can just select the use OpenMetadata recipe and you'll be able to find the prompts that I just ran, the instructions for the agent, the OpenMetadata MCP extension, everything that you're going to need to recreate the demo that I just showed. All you'll have to do is scroll down and select Launch in Goose Desktop. Once I select Launch in Goose Desktop, it will open up a new window for me. I'm just going to paste in that same schema that you saw me working on earlier. I had added a data team as an owner to that schema. We're going to push that information down to the tables that are within that schema. You can see it's found that same schema, and I am going to have it do the same thing that we just saw in the demonstration. Just like before, Goose is going to be having GPT-4 facilitate that interaction with my OpenMetadata MCP server. I'm calling the tools that allow it to make those changes, update each table within my schema with this new owner. This time, I'm having everything written for me by that Goose recipe. And I can jump back into my OpenMetadata instance here. You can see that owner and certification at the schema level, and now I have them both for each table within that schema as well.
That was awesome. From chat-driven data management to autonomous agents, we've just seen the blueprint for how semantics and AI transform how teams can work in the future.
And now, to close it out, we'll be bringing back the visionary who started this journey, Suresh Srinivas, with a look ahead of what's next. Suresh, bring it home for us.
Thank you, Steve and Sumita. We are delivering groundbreaking innovations for making data AI ready. First, we added support for new RDF Ontology, which is a semantic standard to bring meaning to your data. We have AskCollate, a conversational interface, in fact, data native conversational interface that helps you conversationally manage, understand, and govern data. AI Studio, an agentic AI framework with custom and pre-built AI agents to take your automation to the whole new level. And then finally, Enterprise MCP Server that helps you use LLMs of your choice on your metadata. I hope you're as excited as me about what's to come. To recap, the first three principles that we started OpenMetadata with are more relevant than ever in the AI-ready data world, in the world of AI. Before, in people-ready data, we had controlled vocabulary. Now we have support for controlled vocabulary and ontology to bring meaning to data. We had collaboration for humans earlier. Now the collaboration includes not just humans, both humans and AI. The previous automation now has AI agents that are supercharging automation to the next level. OpenMetadata and Collate is enabling data intelligence without boundaries by creating shared understanding with common semantic language for humans and AI. We are also enabling intelligence everywhere, AI for all your data teams and workflows. And finally, all this innovation is open and future ready, built on standards as open source with no vendor lock-in. Thank you for attending the Reimagine Summit.
What a session. Thank you for joining us, and a big thank you to our amazing speakers and community for helping us reimagine how the world works with data.
If today sparked some ideas for you, don't stop here. You can explore everything you saw from AskCollate to AI Studio at getcollate.io, or just join the Slack community, sign up for your own sandbox, try things out, and be part of shaping the future of open data intelligence.
And now, instead of signing off, we're actually going to keep the conversation going. Up next is a live Q&A with our founders and the engineering team. They'll be taking your questions on everything from semantic standards to AI agents and what's next on the roadmap.
Absolutely. So stay right here, drop your questions in the Q&A, and let's dive in together, because the future of data intelligence isn't something we do alone, it's together with the community. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the live Q&A.
Thank you.